Hi, everybody. I'm sorry that we're late. We were having a few technical difficulties, but I'm so excited we got it sorted out because today is going to be an amazing interview. I am so excited to be here. I feel so privileged to be here interviewing the amazing Laura Wall. Laura is an absolutely wonderful coach who helps people really find balance in their lives. Laura, could you just share a little bit of information about like your coaching background and what you could do with that?
Sure. So I can give you a bunch of, initials after my name, but I think it makes more sense to people if they kind of understand, my story and my journey. So much like everyone, I got to a place in my life where I was kind of frustrated with how I felt physically, how I looked. And so I started with taking Zumba, and that was kind of my gateway drug. So I became a fitness instructor, and that led to me becoming a personal trainer and then a nutrition coach. And so now I like to try to combine all of that. And the way that I coach people is much more holistically. So I like to look at the individual as someone that is, your body is a container for your soul. So if your body is healthy and happy, if you are well in mind, body, spirit, and heart, then you're able to live out your life's purpose, your life's mission. And for each person that looks a little different, but we still have all four of those components, body, mind, spirit, and heart, that sometimes we need some little adjustments to.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing it. And you guys, I don't know that I did Laura is such an amazing person. She's so inspiring. She really helps a lot of people. And so I don't know that I really did a great job at giving her introduction. So what I did is I made a post earlier talking a little bit about who she is, and I posted her website there too, so you can go there and check out the kind of coaching that she does and how she helps other people and all that stuff. So definitely, if this interview is something that really resonates with you, take the time to hop over to that website and look, learn a little bit more about her. And I'm trying to get my other computer to pop up so I can see what questions that we have live, and I haven't been successful, so that's why I can't.
We can just make things up as we go.
Yes. If you're joining us live, we are so excited to have you. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to post them. I think I've just got it up now. It's running a bit slow. But post your questions, and I'll definitely make sure that Laura answers those, that I can get those to her.
Oh, cool. A pop quiz.
Yeah, pop quiz. So I haven't had anybody post live questions yet. So you do the first.
Okay, good. Good, because I didn't study up for the quiz. So that's good.
So the next question I have for you is, did you ever think that you'd find yourself coaching other people?
No, and I think most people don't when they start. I think we kind of start in a low place and we feel like a big giant mess, and then when we start to experience a little bit of success, we're kind of surprised. And then we naturally move into a coaching and mentoring role because we're human beings that try to make sense and meaning out of what's happening to us. And part of the way we do that is by talking with people we love and trust. And so we start kind of processing it out loud. And then we start identifying and seeing similarities with other people that might be having something going on in their life. And then, we hear their sadness or their grief or their frustration, and we identify with it because that's what we went through. And then all of a sudden we start coaching them and helping them. Oh, yeah, I felt that way too. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to figure out a quick solution for my morning meal. Like I struggle with breakfast, and yeah, you start to relate. So yeah, when I first started out, all I wanted was to feel better. I missed the old Laura. There was a girl that was fun and she had friends and she laughed and she played, and I couldn't find that girl anymore. And so I had a really good friend who came alongside me, as good friends do, and we both kind of decided that we wanted something a little different for our lives. We missed those girls that we used to be, and we weren't really trying to aim towards a certain number or a certain goal. Like we weren't trying to run a marathon, or we weren't trying to fit into that black dress by that date, but instead we both were wanting that happiness and joy and sense of well-being for ourselves. And so, yeah, I just wanted to try to find that. And my path started with some movement that brought me joy. And so, yeah, 5 years, 6 years later, I'm like, yeah, this is kind of wild that I went from being, that clumsy person in the back of the dance class to being in front of the class and teaching it. And then now working with people online and helping them, find that spark and find that little piece of their old self. And it's kind of like almost like a hidden trail. There's a pathway back to the real you, the you that you really want to be, and it's inside of you. And that's really all a coach is we just have a nice flashlight and we shine a little light, and maybe we have a little guidebook, or maybe we have a Swiss Army knife. We might have a few little tools to help somebody work, but we're a guide along their path.
I love that. There's so much in what you shared there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I kind of took away from it is when we're in a place, especially because you had like accountability partner, right, to keep you going along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're in a place where we're not feeling our best and we're a little bit down, sometimes just lifting someone else up can really help pull us out of that place.
Mm-hmm.
Like to know
Mm-hmm.
that you're inspiring so many other people along the way. And that's kind of how you started, right? Was lifting each
Mm-hmm.
other up and then pushing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have a really very clever brain, and part of what happens with our belief system is we speak what we believe, and then we believe what we say. So there's a nice feedback loop. So if we're always saying, I feel horrible, I feel fat in these jeans, then that's what we continue to see. But as we start to say, I'm going to do something and we're going to do this together, then we start believing in that. So yeah, together we will, right?
Yes, I love that. I love that. So what are some, you talked about starting this really awesome journey and how like you weren't in a very good place when you started. What are some key things that you think helped you achieve such amazing success along the way? Because like obviously there is a long journey between just starting out and
Mm-hmm.
as a coach to where you are now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the first thing is to find something that makes sense to you. And by that, I don't always mean like, this making sense, but more like in your heart space where it feels real and it feels true. And so again, that might be partnering with someone to start walking. That might be doing something on your own where you're researching and you're getting the information you need. So that whatever you're choosing for yourself in terms of your health choices is something that you're connected to in some way. So I think everyone starts in indecision. We start out unaware, and then we kind of become aware of the problem, and then we start looking for a solution. So in that solution process, not to judge your process, you don't have to start out with a gym. You don't have to start out with a particular diet. You don't have to have an accountability partner. So allowing yourself to figure it out. And that's kind of how we are when we're babies. Like, when babies start to walk, like they don't all just stand up and walk. Some kind of crawl first, some kind of half walk. So again, allowing yourself to kind of fumble around in the process. I would say the next thing is to allow yourself time to be compassionate with yourself and to observe what's happening. So kind of pull back and be an observer of your own process, as opposed to if you're outcome oriented, like, oh, I have to do this by this date because it's important. But instead, if you are behavior oriented, so you know what? Every day I'm going to get up and do this one small thing. I'm going to do this one small thing over and over. And that's a teeny tiny little mind muscle that I'm going to start building. And I'm going to get really, really good at that one teeny thing. And then I'm going to add one more thing to it. And that starts to help you build momentum, as opposed to setting a goal out in the distance. Because I'm not against goal setting, but sometimes when I get really attached to that goal, there's things that are beyond our control that limit us, that we don't get to that outcome. So if I say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by Christmas, well, we don't know that we're going to have a giant work project that's going to take up so much of our time, and it's going to take our focus away from our exercise and nutrition routine. Or we don't know that we're going to get the flu. So if we focus on the little things we can do every single day, as opposed to the big things. And again, observing your process. Like, yeah, when I drank that shake, I felt really full for 2 hours, but I kind of got hungry. So what does that mean? And again, not judging it, but being curious about it. And then I think the other thing, and this was really hard for me because I think everyone out there were like, we can do it. Pull myself up by my bootstraps. Like, I'm going to make this thing happen. And, we're human beings. We're relational. We're made to work together. We're not made to be alone. There's no single person on this earth that's ever had extreme, amazing success without a huge line of people behind them, a team, mentors, guidance, education. And so it feels very humbling, but to ask for help, that when you get stuck, you're not alone, you're not a loser, you're not a weirdo, you're not broken, but that to ask for help. So anything I've ever done that's taken me closer to the things that I want and that I've been able to help more people is when I've always asked for help, specifically a mentor or a coach. So all the roles I've ever had, I've gone to people and said, you know what the hell you're doing. You look like you've got your act together. So could I just follow you around and listen to you, and you give me a few pointers, and then I'll help you with your thing you're doing. So try to find a nice, energy exchange, kind of, offering yourself to be helpful to that person. Then in exchange, they're teaching and training you. And again, maybe at first, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing with this stuff. I don't really know how to work out, or I don't really know how to do these shake things. But going to someone that thinks that you look like I said, that makes sense to you, that you feel something for that person, and you go, they know what they're doing. And you start talking to them, asking for their advice and their guidance. And pretty soon it becomes a symbiotic relationship. You start giving them value as much as they're giving you. So don't think that you're ever in a position of one up and one down. All coaching always tends to be that both people rise, and there's something that each is getting from the other.
Wow. There was so much information.
I know. I'm sorry. I thought it was three things.
I love that. I think it's so helpful, especially for me. Because
start with joy. Be curious and focus on what you can do, little things, and get help.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, because there are two things that I continuously struggle with, because it's a journey, right? So like, you're going to, as obstacles come in, you're going to have to readjust and reevaluate and then figure out where you're at. And so one of the things that I personally struggle with is, and I'm sure that there are a lot of other people who struggle with it, but giving myself credit for the things that I do, on that journey along the way, because there's so many things that I am doing to get to where I want to be and what I want to achieve. But if you focus on just what you aren't doing, then that can chip away at the little daily things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I call it the 2%. So it's kind of like you get your test back in school and you see 2 red marks on there. And all you do is like, why didn't I get those 2 questions right? What's wrong with me? I should have studied more. I should have done this and I should have done that. And you're shooting all over yourself, and you're not going, hello, I got a 98. I did pretty awesome. But you're focused on what you're not achieving as opposed to what you did. So I think that's a really valuable point for people starting out. I've been talking to some of the people on my team and saying, document in whatever way makes sense. If it's on a Post-it the night before you go to sleep, if it's on your phone, if it's with pictures, but document what's going on, because there's going to be times when we don't see physical changes, but there's other things always going on. So we want to look for those non-scale victories, is a term that the fitness industry uses. So do you have more energy when you wake up in the morning? Are you able to climb the stairs at work and you don't get breathless? Do you notice that you have super great mental clarity in the afternoons where you used to be foggy? Or even just noticing your process, like, hey, I've become a morning person, a morning exerciser. Look at me. I'm changing my identity. So like I said, taking that observer role and pulling back sometimes and looking at the whole picture.
Right. Yeah, no, that's definitely important. And then secondary, the other thing that I was going to share that has always been a struggle in everything I've done, but allowing others to help you and to like really release that control to help them to grow. And I'm working on that a lot.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we feel like maybe somebody else isn't going to do it as good as what we're going to do it. And the truth is that everyone is fully capable of achieving as much success as they want.
Yes. Yeah. You don't see a seed that's been planted in the ground going, no dirt. I don't need you. Sunshine, take it down a notch. Go behind the clouds. What rain? I'm good. I'm totally good. I've got everything. I've got everything in my little shell to break out of the shell and create a plant,
Yes.
to grow. But hello, you need all of those relationships. You need all of those different things. And I think that's important too, is, if you do have a coach, if you do have a mentor, if you do have a running buddy or an accountability partner, they're not going to fill every single need for you. So as you start to feel that tension, like, okay, this is good that I check in with Jacqueline every Wednesday and we see how our workouts are going, but I need a little something else. When you feel that tension build inside of you, that's a great indicator to start looking outward. Maybe there's an online coaching program that you need. Maybe you need to join Healthy Mind and Body. Maybe there's a book that's going to give you some more clues. So again, we have an internal guidance system that helps us with that. And sometimes we get so outwardly focused, like we're looking at the scale or the tape measure or what our friend's doing or what someone said or what's on the Facebook feed. Oh, look what someone else did. That we start comparing ourselves and we lose track of, like I said, that small, clear voice inside of us that knows, that knows what to do.
Yes, and one of my mentors that I've mentored calls it the noise. Like the noise of everything that comes in that like derails you. And even like when you're following someone, it's funny that we're talking about this because I think this is so important. And one of the things that I found is, especially on Facebook, because people get on there and they can share really profound information, and it might be a huge leader that like you love and you're following and you're so excited to be following that person. And then they say something about how they're doing things or how you should be doing things, and you can internalize that and take that on, and it can totally and completely derail you into another direction when you're completely and totally following your heart and your passion and you're on track with what you're doing with your voice.
Yes.
And
be
so
very careful for the shoulds.
Yes, and you got to block that noise out.
Well, not even block it out, but being intentional, like, what, one shake a day is working for me, or just walking at the river is working for me for right now in this phase of my life. I've got grandkids. I've got a new job I just started. I really want to do that Zumba class, but I just can't. And so instead of, feeling like you're missing out or your friends are doing something that's leading them to success, know that we're always on our path. This is one of the things that I hear a lot when people go, oh, I'm so off track. I fell off the wagon. I got derailed. And I'm just going to tell everybody out there, you're always on your path. You're always on the wagon. You're never, ever off the train. You're always where you're exactly supposed to be. So if you're in a struggle phase, there's growth. That's that little plant trying to break through the dirt, or that's that little plant trying to reach towards the sky. So growth doesn't feel good, but you're always exactly where you need to be, and you have resources around you to support and sustain you at all times. But sometimes, like you said, we get distracted when we look around like, oh, I need that watering can on the other side of the yard to water me. And you're like, then you don't pay attention that there's clouds ahead of you. Oh, it's about to rain on me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Not so much block it out, but kind of embrace what you're doing and really focus on what you want and know that you're on the right path that you're going down.
Yeah. I think that can be really hard. I get stuck. I'm a coach and I get stuck. I'm a personal trainer and I get stuck. There's times I don't want to go to the gym. I don't like what I'm doing. I'm a foodie and I get stuck. So I think that's another myth that's out there generally in the health and fitness industry, is that people that we see and we see a picture of and we see a bio or a story, we're really just seeing a drop in the ocean. Yes. And we think that progress is this straight line up. We think that progress is linear, and really it's not. It's a lot like playing, Monopoly, where you're like trucking along and then you get a couple of properties and then you go to jail. Like, you're going up like this and then you take a little dip. And then you're sitting in jail like, okay, I've got a problem here. I got to get out. How do I get out? Okay, let me roll the dice. Let me try this one thing. Let me get another solution. Let me talk to my friend. Can someone bail me out? And then finally you're back up again. And then you start to make a little progress. So yeah, with health and fitness, or with really anything. I mean, if you think about, if you've been to college or if you parented children, there's no straight line progress in growth. Never, ever, ever. There's always setbacks. And so to adjust your expectations so that you're like, okay, I've gotten to this point in my life. This has taken me 49 years to get here in this body, in this house, in this life, in this career. So if I want to turn this ship around and go a different direction, it may take, I hope it doesn't take 49 years, but it may take longer than 6 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months. It may take a while, but I'm going to be 50 anyway. So why not spend this next year consistently trying some things? And at 50, let's see where I am. Maybe we need to adjust the path or adjust the course.
I love that. I love your analogies. Your analogies are like,
well, I'm a word picture girl. I see things in my head, and I feel like I guess I'm trying to make like a little movie for people to think about.
I think that they're amazing. I love them. So we talked a little bit about obstacles and things coming in, like derailing us a little bit. What kind of obstacles did you have to overcome to get to where you are today?
Well, first and foremost, ongoing, recurring, debilitating, shame-filled depression. So I think depression is one of these gently misunderstood health phenomena. And I think a lot of people are very well-meaning and they want you to get out of the hole. But they kind of stand near the hole that you're deep in this dark place. And they're like, oh my God, you're in a hole. Let me just go get you a ladder. That'll fix everything. And that's not really what fixes everything. So again, there's been a long progress back from dealing with that depression. I dealt with it through junior high, high school, college. I've got some really terrible journals that I will not ever read again because they're just doom and despair. They're very gloomy. And again, not to put down people that are in depression clinically. There's actually information there. There is information even when you're in depression. And so depression is really just a gigantic dose of resistance. And I still have fallen back into depression even in these times, but I now have a set of tools that helps me stay out of depression. And they are spiritual connection, number one. So my higher power, God, Jesus, all that is, the universe, however you want to think about it. Everybody has their own framework. Number two is movement, exercise. So doing something physical. And again, it doesn't have to mean going to the gym. Sometimes it's going for a hike. And then number three is music. So I connect very deeply with music and the vibrational levels and the lyrics and the meaning and all of that. So those are some things that have led me out. I'd say the other obstacle I've faced just in terms of growth as a person, as a coach, within my own fitness journey is, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. I guess it's the big giant myth or the lie of unworthiness. And it shows up in a lot of different ways. So it can show up as, oh, I can't be a trainer. There's no way I could be a trainer because I don't really know anything. Like I just read a book and I got tested. I don't know anything. Or it could be, well, there's no way that I could ever be, in a fitness competition because I don't know anything about that. Or even as just on my own journey, there's times where I'm like, I don't know how to get to the next level and I'm stuck again. And then I start listening to the chatter in my head. That's deception, kind of like what they talk about in Healthy Mind and Body, the deception that comes in. And again, depending on your spiritual mindset, you can frame that in different ways. That could be the dark and you're not seeing the light. But falling into that and not necessarily having that flashlight again or having that pathway out and knowing how to shift that mindset. And so I've definitely had a lot of starts and stops where I've kind of gotten stuck like, what am I doing again? And what was my purpose? And why do I need to go to the gym tomorrow? I don't want to go to the gym, And so, but but being compassionate with myself and knowing that happens to everybody. It happens to everybody. All
Yeah.
it's a
Well,
normal part of the process.
yeah, and when you were talking about especially like the unworthiness part, I
Mm-hmm.
think sometimes, including myself, because that's one thing that I have really worked hard to overcome, like especially from a financial standpoint. Like I don't deserve, like a lot of times we say things like I don't deserve to earn a six-figure income, or
Mm-hmm.
or we think them. We may not say them out
Mm-hmm.
loud, or I don't deserve this beautiful house that I
Mm-hmm.
have, and we may not say them in that form, but we self-sabotage
Absolutely.
ourselves by
Mm-hmm.
thinking about something like a big dream
Mm-hmm.
and then taking it away from ourselves, thinking that we could never achieve or accomplish it. I actually did a phone call with someone the other day that I met online, and I was talking to them and I was really excited. And they were sharing their dream with me, and I could tell that they just felt like it was so far away
Mm-hmm.
from what they could ever achieve.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really a part of us thinking that we're not worthy enough to have and be the person that we want to become, to have the things
Yeah.
that we want, and then to be the person that we want to become.
Yeah.
So I love everything that you shared. I know the information you just shared is going to help a lot of people who come back and watch this replay, because there are a lot of people who struggle with those things.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, it may come from an old belief system, how you were raised, the people that you were around, or even sometimes we associate um, suffering being valuable.
Yeah.
So if I put myself last in my household and I take care of everyone else, then that's valuable because I'm serving others. I've served everyone. But I'm sure I'm not good at quoting scripture, but biblically, basically, it says, you're supposed to treat others as you treat yourself, which means you're also supposed to treat yourself well.
Right.
And I think when we're reaching for a goal, it really helps to drill down past the initial reason why. So a lot of us come to health and fitness and we're like, well, I want to lose 20 pounds. And I'll ask my clients, well, why? Why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Because I want to look better. Okay, why do you want to look better? So we keep asking that why. And as we go deeper and deeper, they start looking at their true reason, which when we get down to it, that is actually a reason related to value and emotion. So a lot of moms out there, a lot of women out there, part of what they want is not always for themselves. It's not that they want to look great on date night in their jeans. What they really want is to be a healthy, vibrant person that's role modeling for their children and is around for their children and is living a big life with their children in the future. So I think if you're able to, when you set goals, tap into that deeper why, that's where the true heart message is. That's where your true intention is. So if you want great financial wealth, most people I know that want great financial wealth that I'm around, when I ask them, so what are you going to do with it? I don't ever hear them say, well, I'm going to buy a jet plane. What I hear them say is, oh my gosh, I love dogs and I really want to start this commune and I want dogs to run free. Like they want that money for something else. They want it to serve others. And again, we want health and wellness, not just for ourselves to feel good, but for the relationships that we have with others. So I think that helps you push past that unworthiness or feeling like you're being selfish or feeling like you're being greedy or like you're wanting something you're not supposed to have.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of times too, it's because sometimes like a mom might want to spend more time with their kids. Like it's never a reason just for a, because you know what I mean, like just to go out,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, just to go out and buy a jet plane. There's always some deeper reason that like we want this huge income. It's usually to bless other people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whether in our lives or someone experiencing something that's a rough time.
Yeah. I think it usually comes down to a few basic values, and usually among them are love, peace, joy, and freedom.
Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
the things we really want when we're thinking about being with our families long term, when we're thinking about having a lot of resources to be able to share with others. Yeah, we're looking to create something bigger than ourselves.
Yes. No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like everybody on some level has that in them, whether they know it or
Absolutely.
not.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is awesome. We are like, so many people are going to get so much value out of this. I am so excited about it.
Well, that's our intention, and so that's all we ask for, and then we detach from the income, and we see outcome, and we see what happens.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
So, knowing where you are today and what you have achieved, would you do it all over again?
Absolutely, and that's really hard to say because there's been some very deep, very painful moments in time. Again, in depression, in stuckness, in lack of clarity, in shame, or in unworthiness. But what I find is with the range of emotions and with the range of human experiences, none of them are good or bad. They're all valuable. So they're valuable in two ways. One, they're valuable for us and what we're trying to learn and what we're trying to become. So that individual growth. But then it's also valuable because it provides us connection to others. We're able to relate to other people.
Right.
The depression that I went through, um, I would go through that again because on the other end of it, once I was in a better place, I was able to help a friend who was dealing with just the same thing. And I love her dearly. And if I hadn't had that experience, I wouldn't be able to relate to her in the way that I did. And it really deepened our friendship. And so I think, again, it's similar to, what happens in families. There are men that they sacrifice things to provide for their families. There's women that sacrifice things to provide for their families, or even moms. The pain that you go through, the physical discomfort and pain that you go through in the pregnancy and birthing process is absolutely worth it. So, pain, discomfort, sadness, grief, all of those experiences have a lesson that leads you to the next good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And going back to what we said earlier, sometimes you see all the glory and you don't know the story along the way. And as you go through your journey and you learn things, like you said, those are the times that allow you to help others and pull them up in the same way
Mhm.
that someone else may have done it for you, or that
Mhm.
you had to figure out how to do it on your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I'm going to skip down a little bit just because I know that we're running out of time. But how have you personally created some more freedom in your life, like time freedom, financial freedom, just any
Mm.
type of freedom?
Mhm. That's a very good question. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, I'm visual. So I like to play games and I like to be playful. And when we move into that playfulness and creative space, that's when we can really unleash our imagination. So I decided that I asked my husband, like, where do we want to live? What do we want to do? And I realized that I was limiting what I thought. I thought we needed to live in one place. Like we need to have a house by a river or by a lake because we talked about being by water. And so then I started thinking, well, what if that's not the truth? What if you could live in more than one place? So I started there with kind of creating a vision of what would I want my ultimate lifestyle to look like, and just kind of throwing off all the brakes, not worrying about the 75 steps that I need to get there, but just kind of looking and daydreaming. And so from there, I realized something that's valuable to me is freedom and to be able to move around a lot and travel a lot. And so with that, that kind of gave me a compass or a destination. So if you are headed towards New York and you hop in the car in Texas and you start driving, yeah, you can probably go through Arkansas. You might go through, Louisiana. You're not exactly heading towards New York, but you can kind of piddle around. But you know that if you start heading west towards California, you know that's not New York. So by setting that kind of end goal or that end vision, it helps me make better choices now. And so every time I encounter some type of work opportunity, I'm like, so if I signed up to start teaching a class every week, 3 times a week in my own town, does that fit with my vision of being able to? And sometimes we have to say yes to those things. Sometimes they're a short-term thing that we need to do to get there. So kind of sensing into that. But starting with that bigger vision has helped me be able to make decisions on a day-to-day basis. And then just other things, just kind of asking for solutions. So when I think one of the most powerful word that we can use in our minds is the word how. So we tend to ask, why? Why is this happening to me? Or what happened? Why did I do that? But if instead we ask the word how of ourselves, how could I have a really super easy morning and have a great breakfast? Well, boom. Then friends of mine say, hey, we've got this amazing thing and it's got isogenics and it's shakes and it's so convenient. Oh, convenient. Well, I was looking for convenient because I found a problem. I asked myself, let's look for the solution. And then I had my let's look for solution brain working. So I think that's some of the ways that I've created freedom for myself is asking those kind of questions and looking for those solutions. And so now, doing things like the shakes, they're super convenient. It gives me a lot of time to do some of the other things that I really want to be doing. I think also asking for help and collaborating. So if we think that we have to be the captain of the ship, we've got to figure out the course, we've got to navigate it, we've got to rearrange the deck chairs, we've got to be on the Lido deck leading the hula class, we've got to fuel the engine, we've got to do all these things on the cruise ship. If we're in charge of everything, we're going to be exhausted. We're going to be exhausted and overwrought, and we're going to be frustrated and we're going to give up. But if we get a team in place and if we ask for support and help from people that we know and trust and ask for that around us. So even asking for, hey, honey, this week's going to be crazy. I need you to make the shakes in the morning. I know it only takes 2 minutes, but could you be in charge of that? And could you be in charge of dinner on Saturday? And it feels weird at first because you feel kind of needy. And like, again, you go back to those old weird feelings like, I'm not good enough. I should be able to do more. But asking for support and help from other people. Because when you bring 2 people together, even 3 people together, and all of that energy and ideas, greater things come out of it. And because everybody's donated a little time, you're actually leveraging what happens. And so that creates a lot of freedom. So knowing you don't have to do everything on your own. That was a huge aha for me. And knowing that actually the best of me comes out when I partner with other people. There's better ideas that come out, better solutions that come out. And that's really what we're looking for, is we're looking for some solutions so we don't have to do everything. And that creates a lot of freedom for me, is that I'm not in charge of everything. There's other people doing things at times.
I love what you shared so much, because what you shared, it wasn't that you've created more income. It wasn't that, it was that you decided to create a big vision for what you wanted your life to look like. And then you broke it down into little steps. And like you said, it doesn't have to be you're working with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. So you may do things that aren't what your end vision is, but are stepping stones that are going to get you to that end vision along the way.
Yeah.
I love what you shared so much, because there are so many people who may not think about what they're wanting to do, with the end in mind, who now will be able to go back and set those goals and really go after and achieve them.
Yeah. And this is a teeny little take-home tip, because I know people like something they can actually put in place and not always all of this pie in the sky stuff. So one of the best times we have for programming our minds and programming our intentions and what we want to do is when we first wake up and we're still in kind of that dreamy state. We're very, very relaxed. We're pretty peaceful. And that's a really great time to set your intention for the day. Some people may call it a meditation. Some people call it intention. You can call it a prayer. But visualizing yourself walking through your entire day. Maybe it's a crazy day. Maybe you got to go and get the twins up and get them in their jumpers. And maybe you got to go and make the shakes. And maybe you got to get them in bed. And then you got that meeting. And then you got to drop them off somewhere. But visualizing each one of those steps, take 2 minutes, visualizing each step that you have to do that day. And so what happens in our minds is our minds they're really interesting. They don't always understand whether something's happened really in reality, like we've actually physically walked something out, or if we've just created it in our mind. So those practice runs in our mind's like, oh, this is what we want to happen. So then when we go out in the world and we practiced it that morning and we visualized the best outcome for the day, I'm not going to run late to that meeting. My husband's going to have a beautiful dinner on the table for me. It's all going to work out. But seeing it in your mind, believing it, feeling it, seeing it in Technicolor, then your mind for the rest of the day tries to match up what the roadmap is to the road ahead. And so every time you get a little off course, it's going to course correct for you because it wants that thing to come to pass. And again, you may be working with God throughout the whole day and praying to him and asking for his help. You may have just done this once and then just tried it out. There's no wrong way to do it. And this doesn't have to do with being, very religious person. We're all wired this way so that we see things in our mind, that we create things in our mind first before we ever create them in reality. So just practice it. It's really fun.
I love that. That's a great tip. I'm going to start doing that. I think that's a really big thing, that it's a small thing that can really make a big difference in your day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what you do with the snooze button. There's a good use to the snooze button. Hit the snooze button and then just lay there and just kind of be in that dream state and start thinking about it. And so what if you fall back asleep? That's okay. Your subconscious mind will work it out.
Oh, that's awesome. So I know you have to run. I have one more question for you and then we're done.
Okay.
What's one piece of wisdom you would like to share with someone who might be watching, who, may be unhappy or struggling with where they're at right now?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there like one piece of advice you could kind of leave them with?
Yeah, I would say we start off again in that kind of unconscious state. We're not really paying attention and we don't see a problem, but we come to that conscious state like, I hate this job, or I'm really uncomfortable in my body, or I'm tired of being tired. Okay, when that comes up, sit with it. Sit with it and ask yourself, what can we do about it? Because that's going to start opening you up to looking for things. And try to move into curiosity. Try to move into experimentation. So if we approach things like a scientist would, like we put on our white lab coat, I'm going to go check out and see how this thing might work. And be skeptical. It's okay to be skeptical, because what you're doing is you're serving your highest good. If you're skeptical, you're asking yourself, is this the best thing for my body, for my mind, for my lifestyle? There's some sort of vision. Maybe you can't see it, but what you're doing is you're trying to align with it. So when you ask those questions and you're skeptical, you're doing that. So I encourage people to just experiment and then trust yourself. Trust what your mind and your body are saying. Ugh, I don't like that strawberry shake. That is not for me. Or, I hate Zumba. Those people are crazy. That's fine. It's great to not like things. One of my friends told me when I was trying to unveil a class at the YMCA, I was all nervous and feeling full of shame and unworthiness. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I'm going to be good at this. She said, there is no failure. There's only feedback. She said, fail fast, fail beautifully, fail messy, fail miserably, because all of that quote unquote failure, that's all data about what you don't want. And the sooner you learn the things that you don't want, that don't work for your marriage, your family, your lifestyle, your body, the closer you are to finding out what's true for you, what sets your heart aflame, what lights you up, what makes you feel passionate and engaged and happy. When we set those things aside, we are clearing the path. We are clearing things out of the way. We got rid of that roadblock. We're not taking that detour. The path becomes clearer for us. So embrace curiosity, keep an open mindset, experiment, and it's not about failure. It's about getting some data, getting some feedback, and then looking at that feedback and asking, what does this mean? What do I really want? Well, I don't want that. Good. Now you know. Now you know what you don't want. That's one step closer to finding what's true for you, what your heart desires.
I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for your time today. We have so much, we went way longer than I had planned, but we have so much good content in there. I think so many people in so many different industries and in different jobs and everything will be able to take the information that we shared today and put it to use. So thanks so much, Laura. I greatly appreciate you.
So good to see you, Jacqueline.
It's good to see
Um,
you.
hello, Facebook world. If you have any questions at all, you're welcome to post comments or question on this feed, and I'll be happy to hop in and offer suggestions or guidance. I don't know everything about health and fitness. I know what's worked for me, and I know what's worked for my clients, but I do have a lot of resources. So I'm connected to a lot of very wise people, other mentors, other coaches, other trainers, other organizations that have phenomenal resources. So if I don't have an answer for you about a particular thing, I will do my very best to try and find you a resource that might help you on your path.
That's awesome, Laura. And that's a really good offer, you guys. You should definitely take her up on it because she is so amazing. And she's right. She knows a lot of different people in the industry who can help you achieve what you're looking to achieve if you need it. And don't feel like you're in this alone because you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. I hope you found, at least one little nugget in there that will help make your life better. We'll see you next Tuesday for Transformation Tuesday and then Friday again for the Unconventional Way. I'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.